West Asia remains on edge. Military assets are being moved, proxy forces mobilizing, while Tehran is tightening what experts call its ring of fire. Washington, meanwhile, continues to expand its military footprint in the region. In fact, the world's largest warship is sailing towards the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier is already in position. Both Gerald R. Ford and Abraham Lincoln lead the strike groups with several guided missile destroyer warships. They are operated by more than 5,600 crew and carry dozens of aircraft. The Pentagon has rushed over 50 fighter jets, including F-22s, F-35s, F-16s. And that's not even all. Reports indicating that at least 108 American air tankers are either deployed or heading into the CENTCOM theater. A clear sign that Washington is preparing for sustained air operations if required. Tehran, remember, has repeatedly warned that American bases and naval assets in the region are legitimate targets. Regional allies have cautioned the U.S. that Iran retains enough firepower to inflict serious damage if the conflict erupts. But Iran's strategy goes far beyond conventional retaliation. It has built what experts describe as a ring of fire, a strategic axis of armed groups designed to encircle Israel and pressure U.S. interests. And that network includes the Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and powerful Shia militias in Iraq. And the aim is pretty simple: to stretch any adversary across multiple fronts and raise the cost of war. And it appears Iran is already activating this doctrine. According to Arab media reports, a significant shift is taking place inside Hezbollah. Officers from Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, are now directly overseeing operations, replacing traditional Lebanese leadership structures. According to the reports, IRGC personnel have arrived in Lebanon and are conducting regular meetings with Hezbollah commanders, issuing operational guidance and accelerating military preparations. The move signaling that if there is any Israeli or American strike, Tehran and its proxies are prepared for retaliatory strikes. At the same time, Iran is strengthening its air defense. According to a Financial Times report, Tehran has signed a secret $589 million arms deal in Moscow in December. Under the agreement, reportedly, Russia will supply 500 Weber shoulder-fired launch units, 2,500 9M336 missiles over 3 years. The Weber system is one of Russia's most advanced portable air defense weapons. Small mobile teams can deploy it quickly to target cruise missiles, drones, low-flying aircraft without actually relying on fixed radar systems that are vulnerable to attack. And the deal also includes 500 night vision sites, enabling operations in darkness, especially for tracking aircraft. Experts say the acquirement of thousands of advanced shoulder-fired missiles could potentially complicate U.S. helicopter missions and also low-altitude flight operations like the ones used in the recent capture of the Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro. The missiles require limited training and can be integrated rapidly as such. All of this is unfolding as diplomacy struggles to actually keep pace with the military buildup on the ground. Iran and America are scheduled to hold the third round of nuclear talks on Thursday. Oman's foreign minister has confirmed the meeting amid the rising fears of open conflict. U.S. President Donald Trump last week warned that really bad things will happen if no agreement resolves the long-running dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. Iran's foreign minister and lead negotiator has said he is drafting a proposal that will be delivered once Tehran's leadership approves it. According to Axios, Washington expects to receive that proposal by Tuesday. But even as negotiations continue, the warnings are growing sharper.
I don't want to use the word frustrated. It's almost because he understands he's got plenty of alternatives. But it's curious. He's curious as to why they haven't, I don't want to use the word capitulated, but why they haven't capitulated.
While Iran, on the other hand, blamed the US for mixed signals.
We have no benefit in the continuation of the negotiations. Negotiations are beneficial for us when they lead to a result. Contradictions and opposing, inconsistent positions taken by various American officials constitute a major obstacle in the course of the negotiations.
Witkoff and Iran's statements in a nutshell, perhaps capturing where things stand right now. The question still is, will diplomacy break the so-called ring of fire or ignite it? Switching gears for now, the Israeli Prime Minister has announced plans to build a hexagon alliance. He describes it as a network of allied nations in and around West Asia. This strategic grouping is aimed at countering radical adversaries in the region. Netanyahu said this proposed framework would basically bring together countries that see eye to eye with Israel on key security and strategic issues. He specifically referred to India ahead of Prime Minister Modi's upcoming visit to Israel. Listen to this.
In the vision that I see before my eyes, we will create a complete system, essentially a kind of hexagon of alliances around or within the Middle East. This includes India, this includes Arab countries, this also includes African countries, and also countries in the Mediterranean, Greece and Cyprus, and also countries in Asia that I will not list right now. I will present it in an orderly manner.
Now, Netanyahu has described this initiative as a hexagon. It's essentially a six-sided alliance of nations cooperating across three key areas: economic cooperation, diplomatic alignment, and security collaboration. The idea is to create a strategic counterweight to Iran and its network of regional proxies, who are often referred to as the axis of resistance. While Netanyahu did not actually spell out all the countries involved or clarify his reference to an emerging radical Sunni axis, quote unquote.
The intention here is to create an axis of countries that see the reality and the challenges and the goals with one eye against the radical axis, both against the radical Shiite axis that we have struck very strongly, and also against the emerging axis, the radical Sunni axis. These countries all share a different perception, and the cooperation between us can yield very great fruits and also, of course, ensure our strength and future.
The concept appears to mirror other multi-nation corridor and connectivity projects, including the proposed India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor, which seeks to boost trade and infrastructure linkages between India, West Asia, and Europe. The proposal has drawn sharp criticism from Hamas. Hamas saying the initiative was an attempt to reshape the region in a way that serves Israeli interests, and urged Arab states to consider its implications for regional stability. This diplomatic push also comes months after a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Following the prolonged and devastating conflict that lasted nearly 2 years, the war has had wide-ranging humanitarian, political, diplomatic consequences across the region and beyond. The bloodshed in Gaza has strained Israel's ties with several Arab countries. Ties with Turkey, for example, have worsened, with President Erdogan openly criticizing Israeli actions. Prospects for normalization with Saudi Arabia, once seen as a major diplomatic breakthrough in the making, have also faced setbacks amid disagreements over Gaza and developments in the West Bank. At the same time, Israel continues to maintain close ties with several Arab states under the US-backed Abraham Accords framework. Since 2020, in fact, Israel has established or strengthened ties with the UAE, Bahrain, and Morocco. These partnerships have expanded across trade, technology, tourism, security, and remain a cornerstone of Israel's regional diplomatic strategy. Against this backdrop, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel this week takes on added significance. This will be his second visit to the country since his landmark 2017 trip, which was the first ever by an Indian Prime Minister. Special attention is expected to be paid to the personal rapport between the two leaders. Netanyahu has publicly referred to Prime Minister Modi as a close friend, and the two have maintained regular contact over the years. During this two-day visit, Prime Minister Modi is expected to address the Israeli parliament and hold high-level talks aimed at deepening cooperation in areas like technology, AI, defense, security, agriculture, also water management and trade. In a sign of growing bonhomie between the world's two biggest economies, US President Donald Trump is embarking on a visit to China from the 31st of March to the 2nd of April. His previous visit to the country was in November 2017 during the first term of his presidency. The bilateral ties between the two sides have seen ups and downs since Trump commenced his second term in office. After the initial tariff war, both sides backed down in May last year, while the U.S. agreed to lower its tariffs from 145% to 30%. China, meanwhile, decided to drop its retaliatory tariffs from 125% to 10%. Beyond that, the situation escalated again in October 2025, when Trump, remember, threatened to levy 100% more tariffs on China, citing its export curbs on rare earths. And a month later, the scenario evolved after the U.S. president met Xi Jinping. Subsequently, Trump announced a trade and economic deal with China, and according to him, China promised to eliminate export controls on rare earth elements and other critical minerals, end its retaliation against U.S. semiconductor manufacturers, and resume the purchase of soybeans. So while there is great anticipation about the possible outcomes from the upcoming meeting, it has also evoked memories of the first ever visit of a U.S. president to China and how Beijing has repeatedly reaped advantage of American overtures. To start with, the U.S. had no diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China since its formation in 1949. Instead, it recognized the Taiwan-based Republic of China as the legitimate government of China. However, U.S. sought for a reconciliation with Beijing to improve ties with the communist governments in wake of the Vietnam War, undermine alliances between communist countries, and also increase leverage against the Soviet Union, which was endangering China as well. So in February 1972, Richard Nixon became the first U.S. president to visit mainland China in office. The visit paved way for the establishment of formal diplomatic relations between the two countries from 1979 onwards. As per the joint statement, Beijing got a major boost as America recognized Taiwan as part of China. It also terminated diplomatic ties and a mutual defense treaty with Taiwan. And this effectively ended China's isolation in the West and safeguarded it from the Soviet Union. However, China is perceived to have benefited more from this agreement as it persisted with its unique political governance and economic model while steering clear of any interference from the West in a way. Additionally, the Chinese government enhanced its ties with Russia in the 1990s. After the fall of the Soviet Union, China is also believed to be working towards establishing its hegemony in the Asia-Pacific region, something it agreed not to do as part of that agreement with the U.S. China's failure to keep its commitment in a way also came into focus when the Phase 1 trade deal was signed between the U.S. and China in January 2020. For instance, the Xi Jinping-led government committed to increase the volume of U.S. imports by more than $200 billion over a period of 2 years. This included a variety of U.S. food, agricultural, seafood, energy products. But data indicating that China bought only 58% of the U.S. goods, which it agreed to buy by the end of 2021. Also, U.S. exports to China in 2020 were $16 billion lower than 2017, just to give you the context. And as Trump eyes furthering ties with China, Taiwan remains the sticking point, of course, with Beijing making its reservation absolutely clear over the $11 billion arms package announced by America.